President Trump is the first president I've seen actually take on what they call the drug war. And it's necessary because the Democrats have been associated with facilitating fentanyl genocide on Americans. Literally. I mean, it's not a debate. They've done it. You've seen it. And so they support. They're angry because we're stopping illegal immigrants. You know what an illegal immigrant is? It's anybody who wants to come over a border. That means fentanyl dealers can come over a border, and they do. And so forget about debating whether they bring child sex trafficking. A lot of people believe that's made up or something, right? But they know the fentanyls come here. So that's why I just centralize it to that. But, racist white people come here. Racist black people come here. Racist Indian people come. Racists coming over the borders. And guess who's racist? The Democrat Party. They've been lying all these years. The Democrats are the racist ones. And so they're bringing racist people over the borders. Racist people who hate God, who created the human race. All right. So you can explain how that conjugates and all that, but I forgot. The main point I wanted to make here was something about the drug war. Oh, what are the Democrats seem kind of silent on this. They're kind of shocked, I think, by it. I think they're caught off guard, but I can tell you what they're thinking. So you're stopping cocaine, which comes from a natural plant, by the way. Everybody, they demonize it because they make the most money off it, and they don't want anybody to ever know you can just drink the coca leaf tea and it's not that dangerous and stuff. Now, I can't say that 100%, but it's definitely not as dangerous as the concentrated forms, the powder forms, the smoke forms, which go directly into people's bloodstreams. All right, and then even a pill would be a concentrated form, but at least it comes on gradually and comes off gradually. So that's better than powder or smoke. But the best form is to have the natural leaf of anything and to drink it like a tea because it has appetite suppressants. It has, like chocolate has theobromine to counteract the effects of caffeine. Theobromine, too much theobromine is not good for you. So that's where chocolate's not good. It's the same stuff. It's medicine, right? Medicinal plants. But when Trump stops the flow of cocaine here, and he's doing that with fentanyl too. Stopping fentanyl is the main thing, right? That's the main point. But also the cocaine because it's just helping people rob folks. It's being used as a swindler drug. It's only coming in the powder forms. It's not coming in the leaf forms. It's not coming in pill forms. And then if it did come in pill forms, you have to wonder if they mix fentanyl in it. And so, but it's going into crooks' hands to deal it, thieves' hands, and slave masters' hands. A bunch of slave masters. All the people that pretend they hate slavery, they're running slavery in the ghetto. They're using the excuse to they're pretending they hate slavery, pretending people are racist. If you question gangs activity and everything else, you're a racist. To protect the money, to protect their business, their slave business in the ghettos and stuff. And so who's protecting that though? The Democrats. Because it keeps a lot of black folks down. But it's not just that they're doing it for racists. They're doing it because they hate America. And I want to point that out. I don't know if I wanted to do a separate topic for this, but the KKK was a problem too. White Americans too, not just black Americans. They hate America. They hated America for Republicans winning the Civil War. So the basically they're linked to the Democrats. The Confederate soldiers, after the Civil War ended, where Republicans ended slavery, Democrats fought to keep slavery. They were angry about it and created the KKK, a small group of Confederate soldiers in Pulaski, Tennessee, I think it was. And so out in a country town. And so they created the KKK. And guess what they did? They created this prohibition stuff. They not just created it. They pushed prohibition and said, let's hang people from an airplane by the tongue and have them fly them around on a helicopter or airplane. I forget exactly. You can Google it. I saw that in an ad the other day. I'm sorry, I can't reference it, but it's on my Facebook page. So, but I read about it. They're vicious to addicts, right? And today the problem is we're still buying into that while the cartel flourishes by stealing from addicts. That's what. And everybody ignores that, but mostly the dealers steal from addicts, and everybody believes they spend all their money on drugs or whatever. And alcohol, when they were drinking, they got jumped and got robbed. That's their fault. And it is partly their fault, but you're not supposed to be able to there's rules against having somebody sign over a property or do anything when they're not sober, and people swindling like that. That's considered thievery. And there's old rules, if you look them up, that should be redeemed. That were people supposed to be able to get their property back if they were not sober in any kind of way. So, and when Noah in the ark, or Noah got off the ark, but people like to call him an alcoholic. Well, we know of him getting drunk one time. That's all I know of. And so he was naked. He got naked, and that's wrong. But he did it while he was drunk. And then one of his sons found him, and he went and told his brothers, making fun of him, laughing at him. And the other two brothers covered him up, right? So you're not, and so he was cursed by his father his family became servants to his other brothers. He was punished for laughing and making a mockery of him being naked and stuff. That was a sin, right? And so could you say it's a bigger sin than being drunk? Well, we won't debate that. But getting drunk, is actually helpful. If you have a bullet in you and somebody's trying to take a bullet out, they used to use alcohol for the pain medicine. Why they do that? So your body doesn't go into shock. You can actually die from your body going into shock from pain, certain levels of pain and stuff. And you can hyperventilate and different things like that. So it's medicine can keep people alive in that way sometimes. So it has a purpose. And if you get drunk while you're having surgery, that's not a sin. But some people, so it's KKK though that taught people that, no, you need to do it and cut your toenail off. If you cut it off yourself. And I'm a tough guy. I've had ingrown toenails. I've had so many people tell me, well, it's tough it out and you don't use anything. You cut it off yourself. You don't use any medicine for that. Don't use a Tylenol. Don't go to the doctor for that. That idea comes from KKK types who demonized any kind of medicine and everything. And they ended up they're still hurting America with that idea, see? And anyway, but my point is, here's the main point. And I just tied in two subjects because I was going to do a separate video on that. But the main point is that, you know what they're doing right now? Why they're being silent? They're thinking, okay, now we can go make money off of these gangs. We got to figure out which gangs will still sign up with us, the Democrats. They're being silent, and they're trying to think of ways to later demonize Trump for taking out the boats that bring fentanyl here, stuff like that. They're probably waiting on that, but they haven't done it too much yet. Maybe they can't do it because it's too obvious that they've killed 300,000 Americans per year, I guess. 300,000 Americans per year with fentanyl. I forget the number, but it's something like that. And so it's a valid what Trump did there to protect our country. So, but it's genocide. Those guys are performing genocide on America, and the Democrats have been supporting it. You understand? That's pretty bad. So that's very bad. That's Hitler. Hitler's like, that's the Democrats. That's the Democrats. That's a real Hitler move. That genocide, the fentanyl genocide, is a real Hitler move. And so, type of move. And, but what they're doing now is they're going to make synthetic drugs. So you're not going to, the cocaine is from a natural source. And I've seen people in the street who don't want to touch what they call Molly or meth or anything that's synthetic that doesn't come from a natural plant. They think it's going to kill you and it's bad for you, but they think cocaine's good for you. That people out here, most people don't know that or think that. But as far as it tearing your body up, they don't view it as tearing their body up as bad and eating away from their mind because it comes from a natural source. But the problem is the streets, they have it mixed with other stuff too. And it is too strong. It can be mind altering if you do too much. But for people who have done it on a regular basis, who are slaves to that, they view cocaine, certain ones, a lot of the women view cocaine as safer, not as dangerous for your body, that is, as some of the other drugs. But obviously, if you're getting too much, too strong, or a mix, are they right? You want me to ask if they're right or not? I don't know. Different forms can blow your heart up and stuff. Aspirin can do that, but it can be addictive. But the worst part is that it's surrounded by a bunch of crooks, right? The crooks run the industry. You could go to jail for it. You don't want to do this stuff. They're mean, vicious people out there. Trust me. All of them that deal it are mean and vicious nowadays, almost every single one. And it's not because every single one is out to just be mean and vicious, but they're pressured by all the mean and vicious people above them or who talk them into getting into it or whatever. So and they're always going to interfere. And then there's certain addicts that do become addict dealers, and they push that mean and viciousness because they end up getting extra, they get free dope sometimes, right? So anyway, so what is the Democrats doing? They're trying to figure out how we're going to make synthetic drugs right here in America, which is worse than the natural ones. But they want that money. They want that money. They want that gang money, that gang power that's running all the homeless shelters in our country, that's bullying all the homeless people, that's not allowing anybody to talk religion or politics and homeless venues and all that. That's our recycling. People talk bad about homeless and all that stuff, but they have, who's stuck in the streets a lot of the times. I've seen it out there as people in wheelchairs with no legs, and the homeless shelters aren't equipped to handle them. So we need mental hospitals. We need disability hospitals, I'd say. I mean, mental institutions and disability institutions that are for people with bad legs, because they're not the ones getting the housing anymore. Well, some of them are, but then somehow I think that illegal immigrants have taken all the housing. Somehow the Democrats have been able to get them housing, but they want to cut off people's food stamps and stuff that are Americans right now. The only good side to that is that maybe some of the illegal immigrants lose their food stamps, and it's hard to get them right back, cut back, or people figure out who that is, And so, not to just hate on. I don't blame illegal immigrants all the way for. When I say it in this context, I'm talking about there are some illegal immigrants who are not in on the conspiracy. But the other thing is, Democrats purposely bring illegal immigrants here who hate America. They've purposely allowed prisoners and serial killers from prisons, released from prisons in Venezuela and places, and that's especially in Venezuela, but the Congo in Africa. They've emptied their prisons right here into America. And so you got serial killers in that crowd. Some of them are just common thieves, I guess. But then you have the illegal immigrants who are, the point is, you got all kinds of different types of people coming in. And a lot of them are killers. Some of them are gangsters. Some of them are, KKK. Some of them are racist. Some of them are it's Russians. Sometimes it's Russian spies. Sometimes it's Ukrainians, which they're in the middle of war. So usually the Ukrainians are here for good reason, but that doesn't mean none of them are gangsters either. And so, but we're not vetting who's a gangster and a violent gangster. And sometimes gangsters aren't the most violent gangsters, but sometimes gangsters are just drug dealing gangs that are just in it for the money, and they're not in it for all the bad stuff, but they're surrounded by all that stuff. Paranoia, they get paranoia. You still got paranoia from breaking the laws. You still don't know what's really in your product for sure. You might not be looking to put a bad product out there, but you don't know for sure that somebody didn't pass down a bad product to you. Now, there's all that chaos that comes involved with it, right? So I understand their side of the story and everything, in a sense, because they're surrounded by it. It's everywhere. Everybody's doing it. Literally looks that way out there. And so it seems, and so from that standpoint, when they say it's racist, it almost seems racist when they bust one person and not the whole thing or whatever. But the easiest way to fix all that is to just legalize the trees, leaves, and teas, and then go after people who are not regulated. And you're also teaching people it's safer to drink it as a tea, and it's in its natural form. It's not concentrated, and that still should be limited. It should be for people who have been pre-exposed to help them get off it, actually, and to wean off it. And so that's, anyway. But what they're doing, they're trying to team up with, I would guess climate change scientists who are probably evolutionists, which is all fake science. And they're the ones that created these crack formulas and everything else, in my view, right? They're the ones that know how to have created the methane. I mean, it had to be a scientist that came up with the methamphetamine, the meth formula. So they're probably trying to create more. They got the meth gangs, which are usually white gangs, probably trying to take over the ghettos now and different stuff, and start putting meth in the ghettos instead of crack or whatever, because if the cocaine supply stopped from coming into America, now a lot of people won't view that as a good thing in those circles, because they know that's all they know is their hustle. They don't know how they can get a job. Literally, people say that's no excuse. Well, they literally don't know how they can get a job. They literally believe they cannot. There are people like that. Now, there's others who can, and there's plenty of people that push them and say, yes, you can. You need to quit being negative. But then they go try to get one and they can't, right? And they give up after twice or whatever, and it's embarrassing because when you go out there and you're down that far, let's say you don't have the right resources. If you don't have a car, for instance, then people frown on you. They don't want to give you a chance because you don't have a car, even stuff like that. But then the problem is they also have some built up anger or and shame or embarrassment, I guess. If they think it's prejudice when somebody embarrasses them like that, and it is. It's stereotype if people are mean about it, and so they get really angry about that because they finally had a chance. They're pretty worn out, I'll say. So they're at the peak of their anger, and they've learned to just lash back a lot harder than I've been there. I've been to that point where I've wanted to lash back like that, and but they've learned that you don't talk to me that way, and so they'll do that talk and that threaten, and they'll threaten you and all that, and then they can't have a job, and that's understandable from the job side of stuff. You can't have somebody threatening people. That's the main thing, because the main thing we need to be teaching is, and we're not doing it because all we've taught about is don't do drugs, don't do drugs, don't do drugs. We act like that's the biggest sin in the world, medicine. So, it's bad because it's surrounded by killers, right? That's really why it's bad. It's not regulated. It can be poisoned. There's a lot of reasons, and it's not good to push drugs on people because they can get in trouble for them. So you don't care about that. You don't care if they go to jail, all that kind of stuff. They even put them out. So if somebody wants to use it, they'll put them out in the street, expose them on purpose to set them up instead of themselves. So you got all that stuff going on. But I kind of forgot my point. But you can't. We got to be teaching people: love your neighbor, don't steal, don't kill, don't lie about people, don't assault people, don't covet people's property. And that protects their own property too. So once your own property is protected, so now they have slavery, slum lords. The cartel is owning these $10,000 houses. If you bought it in full price a few years back, they cost $10,000, maybe $20,000, and they're all paid for. But they're charging them. They're making buco bucks off of those houses down there. So it's like the cartel owns the whole ghettos, and they're charging $200 a week for a small room in one house. Small house, you got four rooms or 3 rooms. 3 rooms times 200. That's $600 per week for the slumlord. And he's probably facilitating the cartel and the Democrats too, the Democrat Party leaders. So that's who they're working with right now. I think they're silent, trying to think racing. I think the Democrat leaders are silent and trying to get other people together. Well, how are we going to make money off of this? How are we going to make money off of this now that South America is not? Colombia is not making as much. They don't have a direct link to make money. And so we're going to take their territory. We're going to get all their slaves. We're going to adopt their slaves. Let's go put meth in let's go put meth out there right now to adopt their slaves. All right. So anyway, what they do though is meth is a different thing though than cocaine. Cocaine's an up and down kind of thing, and where they swindle people. But meth will end up taking people's lives. It'll keep them running for days and days and stuff like that. But, so it'll be a different thing. It'll be like they can't just steal money as easily from meth users as you can from a cocaine user, because the cocaine can get somebody dizzy for a second and take them right back down, and they'll steal from them while they're dizzy, right? So they threaten them while they're dizzy. They make them paranoid. They'll do that kind of stuff. So they know this game. The Democrats know all this stuff. They have made TV shows about it. And I'm like, how do they know all these people? And they're talking about it. And then they demonize the drugs by demonizing the addicts. They have a trick. They have a formula that they use, man. And the Republicans fall for it. And libertarians fall for it. And they demonize. So they hate on homeless people and stuff like that. Anyway, but I kind of wanted to say that. I'm not giving anybody an idea. I guarantee you they're already doing that stuff. And so we got to have another plan besides just that. We're cracking down on crime. Trump is cracking down on crime, the right kind of crime, violent crime and stuff. And you got to crack down on violent crime. You do. I mean, sorry, folks, but you got to crack down on violent crime. You got to crack down on stealing. And there's no bigger way to relay that message than to crack down on it. And he's done that. And once people get that message, they're not going to go commit. Most of the people, or at least a large portion of the people, are going to say, I'm not going to go. I saw him bombing those boats. I'm not dealing those drugs, man. Forget it. I'm not taking no chances getting shot myself or getting put in jail. They're serious now, man. Forget it. I'm out of this game if they're just in it and not stuck in it yet. So that's probably helped in some ways, and then it has the ones that are really wanting to push it, who are really out to attack, hurt America and hurt people. There are those pushers of the drugs and stuff that do it for that reason, and that's the ones that are the big ones doing it, really. And they do it because either they hate Christianity or they hate uh, the principles of Christianity and the reality of human life being honored and sustained with promotion of marriage between man and woman. They hate the fact that they can't kill babies in the womb. So how am I going to do my pimp game if my prostitute gets pregnant? Man, come on, Democrats, y'all got to fight for us. Y'all got to go lie about these people some more, and say they're out to hate women because we won't let them pimp. We won't let them pimps just prostitute them and kill their babies in the womb. Kill the baby in the womb when they get pregnant doing prostitution. We need that money. Okay, well, if they do get pregnant, they're already using the women for welfare checks anyway, stealing from them. So that's these guys, but those are the kind of guys Trump is trying to stop too. And it's not just guys, it's women pimping women and stuff. So you got all that stuff, right? So that's going to be affected, but probably by the process being used, it'll probably slow it down some. So, but there's still going to be those people trying to transfer and make more meth, make homemade fentanyl. By the way, they've already got the formula, so they probably try to make it right here. And they're thinking, okay, China was making money off of fentanyl. Now we can make it right here. The Democrats are trying to think, we'll make our own teams, make it right here. And they're working overtime right now, probably. That's part of the reason they have certain people out there lying. And even though Charlie Kirk was just killed, these people are using the same kind of language and rhetoric that got Charlie Kirk killed, and they have them on the front lines doing it, but a lot of them are silent because they're busy trying to figure out what I just told you they're trying to figure out, how they're going to start getting money because that Colombia is going to be missing out on. Okay, you get the point. I don't know how to word all that real good, but I just thought of one more point before I go. Hitler types. So the fentanyl stuff is the Hitler type thing. That's a real Hitler move, the fentanyl genocide that Democrats have been doing. So they're lying about that. And plus, they're the ones, Obama, the one leader that was most like Hitler was Obama when he's the one that started bringing all these people in that go to our colleges and hate on Jews. Hitler was a Jew hater. Come on now. Obama's brought all these Jew-hating Islamics in. And I'm not saying every Islamic person hates Jews, but technically they hate Christ. So do Mormons, and so do Jehovah's Witnesses. And you got Jehovah's Witnesses everywhere. They're all calling Christ a liar. And so who started that? Obama, he's trying to put Turning Point out of business. We come to find out. Biden was trying to put Turning Point out of business, and come to find out. But he's let Jehovah's Witnesses flourish, and they're calling Christ a liar. Saying Christ isn't part of the Trinity. He got crucified for claiming to be part of the Trinity, basically. Anyway, so for not denying that he's part of the Trinity. All right. So that's a simplification, a summary of that, really. And people say, it doesn't say that specifically. I and the Father are one. He's part of the Trinity. That's him as that's a part of the definition of Trinity, right? So he said that, and that he wouldn't deny it. And that's why the leaders crucified him when they didn't want to, because they found no fault in this man. But the people kept saying, crucify him, crucify him. But the fact that he wouldn't deny basically being part of the Trinity is considered blasphemy. All right. And so they went ahead and followed through with it. Was it Pilate? I think Pontius Pilate. I forget if it's Herod. I'm getting Herod and Pontius Pilate mixed up, but it's Pilate, I think. He washed his hands of it and shut in public and did that sign language of washing his hands. And he didn't want anything to do with it, but he let them do with him what they wanted, the judicial leaders or whatever. And so that's why did I bring that point up? I forgot. But anyhow, so Obama brought people in here that are hating on Jews, protesting at the colleges, and he's the one that really boosted up the fentanyl. The fentanyl started under him, or at least increased under him. He was inviting it in. The invitation for fentanyl and the Jew haters come in under him, under Obama, okay? And so fentanyl has killed so many people in America. That's for Obama to invite that in. He knew it was coming in. And he plays ignorant and calls it racist if we try to stop it from coming in. So we try to stop fentanyl from coming in and they call that racist. That's a lie. It's a lie, and they know it, and that's genocide on Americans. They're helping genocide on Americans. Can you prove it and put them in court and all that? Technically, I would. When you put it as clear and plain as I did, the Democrat Party's murdered people, murdered innocent people with poison. But what's different about that? That's who they are. They kill babies, right? People claim, oh, you can't say it like that, but they kill babies in the womb. All right, they kill embryos in the womb. We'll say embryos. It's genocide. They want genocide on babies in the womb. All right. So they've done the same thing with fentanyl. They've done the same thing with qualifying Charlie Kirk's death. A lot of so they'll say, no, I don't support that. But then they keep supporting the same people who keep doing that, who keep qualifying that and calling for more. They allow it, and they're voting for people who are bringing more of that, who are wanting more Jew haters. In New York, that leader supports Jew haters. If you support Islam, bottom line, all Islam. If you're supporting Islam, you're supporting anti-Jew religion, right? So, and then there's sectors of people who used to be Islam and have branched off black, and they call black Jews. They call themselves, we're the real Jews, and white people were never Jews. Well, guess what? Every ethnicity in the world has been part of the Jewish family at some point because they married into it, right? Moses married a woman from Ethiopia. She was probably black. And some people have said that she moved there from Saudi Arabia over the Red Sea, across the Red Sea. But I don't know. I've never seen that proven. But either way, she was either Arab or black Ethiopian, right? And she may not have been that dark skinned yet because they've only lived there, I don't know how many years after Noah's Ark. And I do believe that skin darkened over the years for people who live near the equator. All right. That makes complete sense, doesn't it? So to protect their skin from the sun. And so we all have beige and brown skin, which is all a shade of beige. So everybody is a person of color, even white people. They're not white. That's the point. White people are people of color because they're not white. And so they'll say, how dare you? You're just trying to say that now because you're kissing up to us because you're scared of us. How dare you? All of a sudden you're being nice to us. That's what they say to me, right? But I think that's a point I may start bringing out more. White people are people of color too. That's going to be a quote. Watch. You just watch. White people are people of color too because they're not white. They're beige. And when they go tan to darken their skin so it looks healthier. So there's nothing wrong with dark skin. It does look healthier in some ways because you don't see the blemishes through dark skin as much. So because the light colored skin, you see more blemishes. You see the blood vessels easier and stuff. So anyway, so that's not saying the white people can't be pretty too or whatever. Handsome and pretty too. Every person has their own smile. I'll just say it like that they can make use of. Okay. So, but a lot of people are frown most of the time and that's not pretty. All right. Anyways, there's a bad spirit, anger spirit. I gotta go. We're out of time. And I see if I'm forgetting any point right before I close out here. And what was it? If I have any. So we should prepare for keeping violence down. We should prepare to stop. We should prepare, I think, by legalizing trees, leaves, and teas. And actually, I would think going into business with Colombia and having coca leaf teas. I think you should have marijuana leaf teas. And quit charging people so much to buy a license, but make them take a class, a course in nutrition and herbs. And I don't know, a lot of times you have teachers that teach it wrong and say milk is bad for you and all this stuff. What's the first thing God gives us when we're born? Milk. All right. So milk is a good thing, but you don't want hormones if you can help it. But I'd rather have milk with hormones than have no milk at all. Anyway, I'm going to finish with that. But that same debates how they've played games with what they did with milk and what they do with food. And demonizing certain things is what they've done with the medicine world. And the truth is, there are safer forms of medicine that can be made, and that doesn't mean you have to use them. You should teach abstinence still. I gotta go.